Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today we're Masechtas Bava Metzia Daf Ches. We're going to begin on Ches Amud Aleph about 7 lines from the top. Omer Rami Bar Chama Zos Omeres. So this must be some form of proof that Hamagbia Metzia Chavero Kana Chavero, that when you pick up something for your friend, in other words, you find an object on the ground for your friend, you must be that your friend is koinit, even though that person didn't pick it up. Because if you want to tell me, in fact, that he's not koina, if that's the case, then te'asa zu kamishu menachas al gabi karka v'zu kamishu menachas al gabi karka. So what is this talking about? So Rashi says this is based on our Mishnah. You have two people, Shagbihu Metzia, they find a lost object on the ground, and we say that they divide it. Now, why should it be that they are able to divide it? It must be because when each one of us pick up the half, I'm picking it up also for this other person. Because otherwise, if you only pick up half a chayfetz, that's not considered to be a kinyan. So it must be the fact that you picked it up and he picked it up together, that must be a raya that in fact Hamagbia Matzil Chavero is Kana Chavero. So in this the Gemara says not necessarily. It's not necessarily a raya. Omer Rava Olamim Malacha Magbia Matzil Chavero Lo Kana Chavero. Really, I'll tell you that's not the case. And Rashi says the Havi Taifas L'Bal Chayiv B'Makim Shechav L'Cherim. So this actually would not work. So then how come our Mishnah, we divide it? We should say it's like it's lying on the ground. It's based on a different svara. That since migu, that I could be zoichet for myself, so I can be zoichet for my friend. So it's not necessarily a raya that if you pick up something for your friend, that your friend's koinit, but rather it's based on the principle migu de zocha nafshi zocha nem l'chavre. Teda. If you would say to a shliach, now this is even if, let's say, if you pick it up, you cannot pick it up for your friend. Your friend won't be koinit. If you would say to a shliach, say ugnayvli, go and steal an object for me, but ganav, and he steals potter. Now why is he potter? So Rashi says based on the Gemara in Kedushin also ein shliach davar aveira. So even though he did your shlichus, but we say divrei Rab, divrei Talmud, divrei Mishaymin. So who are you supposed to listen to? A teacher or the student? You listen to the teacher, to Hashem. So therefore, if you say go and steal from me, v'ganav, so potter. So the shliach is going to be chayiv, but I'm going to be potter even though I told him to do it. Weiter, ushutvin shiganvu. Let's say a partners that stole. Chayavin, says Rashi, one of the shutvin steals something from the shus of the owner with his das, and also he had his friend in mind too. So as it's brought down in Bava Kama, the Chayavin. So as we saw over in that sugi over there, that when it comes to shutvin, they are chayivs, which means if I pick up something, I bring it out, so not only am I chayiv, but also my shut of my partner's chayiv. My time, so we see from here that since I could be zoichet entirely myself, so therefore also I can be zoichet for my friend, which in this case would make him chayiv. Rava. Hashdi Amrit Amrin and Migu. Now that we say that there's a concept of Migu, says Rashi, Afal Pi Shagbia Shel Cherish Enu Hagba. We know that when a Cherish, who is a deaf mute, if he picks up something, that is not considered to be a halachic Hagba liknois. We say min haTorah, it's not a kinyan. Min rabbanan al darchei shalom we're lenient. Keditnan, as it says in Masechtas Gittin Cherish V'Katan. You can't steal from them because of darchei shalom. Even though again they may not really have kinyanim, so if you rip it out of their hands, that's still aser because al darchei shalom. Nonetheless, when it comes to this situation, what do we find? Cherish upikeach. Let's say you have two people. One is a cherish, who min hatayra, his hagbah doesn't work. Upikeach, who of course does. Higbihu metzia b'teich, that they both pick up together a metzia. Mitaych shekana cherish kana pikeach. Since the cherish is kainit al darchei shalom, we say the pikeach is also kainit. Now, bishlam cherish kana. I understand why min rabban we said that the cherish is kaina. The kamag b'lei ben das, because even though he picked up the half, but the other half was even better. If he would have picked up the whole thing, he would have only been kainit al darchei shalom. The second half was picked up by a ben das who is even stronger. So elo pikeach b'may kani. Understand, if the pikeach picks up half, but the other half is the cherish, why would we say that when it comes to a pikeach, he'd be kainit? Says Rashi, el pikeach b'may kani l'gabi pikeach havi rosha shegbia hacherish kemunach al gabi karka. It's like the other half is on the ground. The hagbah the cherish lo kanya, because min Torah the cherish is kinyan. It's not a kinyan by there's no hagbah. It's just al darchei shalom, but it's not really a kinyan. So why would we say then that the pikeach should be kaina? El ema cherish. So it doesn't make any sense. El ema cherish kana pikeach lo kaina. Actually, we're going to say that not the pikeach will not be kaina, because again the cherish picking up the other half doesn't work. However, the chiddush is that the cherish will be kainit. Umay migu nishni chara. So fine. So my migu. So what is the migu you can possibly say over here? So we can say migu d'shnei chershin ba'al makanu. So hainami kani, that when it comes to two chershin in which they're on equal footing, so we say that they are kaina for each other. So hainami kani, also by the chershin pikeach, even though one is a pikeach, nonetheless that pikeach can be kainit. His hagbah will work for the cherish as well. So therefore, the chiddush is that just like two pikchin who pick it up, we can say that they're kaina migu the zachan nafsh zachan al machavre. So too, two cherishin. But the chiddush is that just like it works by two cherishin, so too by pikech and a cherish. So haimai im tim saloimer. What exactly are we talking about? If we're going to tell me that if you pick up an object for your friend, that it's a kinyan for him, so that's only when you have the intention to actually pick it up for someone else. This person picked it up for himself. Understand, this pikeach, it's not kainit for himself, because we say that he can't be kainit. So therefore, lachrini makni. So he's going to allow someone else to get it. So we're saying that in this case of the cherish and pikeach, that the pikeach is not kaina. So if the pikeach himself is not kaina, so how's it shaykh to say that if he can't be kaina for himself, that he's going to be maknit to someone else? Why would he want that? So again, it's all totally on das chavero. You're not going to have das chavero if you yourself can't be kainit. So why would you think that the pikeach will be maknit to the cherish? El ema say like this, because shelo kana bikech lo kana cherish. So we're saying no, pum fakert. The fact that a bikech can't be kainit because again the other person is a cherish, so therefore he's not going to be maknit to the cherish. Therefore the cherish will not be kainit it either. That's how we have to read it. One second, by shnei chershin de alma we say it does work, because hasam tikinu rabbanan. There was at least a takana de rabbanan of darchei shalom delo asalin suye, so that there shouldn't be arguments and fighting. Says Rashi, im hachaitvin mehem, if anyone grabs from them. So therefore we say also two chershin, we say it is a kinyan. Bahachma the chershin pikech meimer amar pikech lo kani ana akne. Again, it doesn't make sense. The pikech should say I can't get it, so then the cherish will be able to get it. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense to be able to that the cherish should be kainit. So therefore, for that reason, Taka, that's what we say. That is the din. Okay. Maybe question TA 24. Shutif shiganov l'daito l'das chaveroi. Madua chayiv. Why would you be chayiv in that case? So he says, because the answer, and I got this wrong, the answer is migu de zachla nafshe. Just like the most simple answer, and I just don't know why I didn't get it right. And it was Gemara, Rashi. It's like, so, but that's the din. As we're saying over here, it's really a Beferish Gemara, so maybe that's what threw me off over here. It says that Teda Shil Ormel Shulchot Say Begonavli Begonav Potter Ushotvin Shigon V'Chayavin My Taima. Why Mishum there meaning Migad Zachal Nafshi Zachal Chavre. That's the answer. So that's a real easy question and unbelievable. I just got it wrong, but that's the answer. Okay, okay. Wow, that's unbelievable. I got that question wrong. We'll get it wrong next Sunday. Okay, let's continue. Weiter. So Amali Rav Acha bereid Rav Ada. So he said Rav Ashi. Diyuka de Rabbi Bar Chama mehecha. This diuk of Rabbi Bar Chama. Rabbi Chama said from our case. Zayis Amaris, the Hamagmim and Sil Chaveros, Kana Chavero. So Iname Amaresha. Maybe it's what is he learning this out from? He just says Zos Amaris. Zos Amaris from where? Right? We just like started from like in the middle of something. So maybe it's talking about the ratio of the Mishnah. Shneimach and Talis. They have two people that are holding on to the Talis. So maybe how's it shaykh that we divide them both up? So it must be because we say this din of you're lifting it up Metzia for your friend, so your friend can be kinded. No hasam hay kamer kulish liva ani agvata kula v'hay omer kulish liva ana agav to kula. It can't be from that. The Mishnah is not talking about that. I picked it up for you. I picked it up for your sake. Each one is claiming that the whole thing is theirs. El Maha, the Katani, we learned Zel omer kulish liva Zel omer kulish li. Both of them said that it's completely mine. Hasu lamli. Why does it have to add that? El Mishnah Yasera, in fact, that it adds that Shema minaham abiyam asel chavero is kana chavero. No, that's not true. That's not extra. Because as we saw in the beginning of this Masechta, Valkimna, the reason why we mention that is to tell us that our Mishnah talking about two different cases. Reisha Metzia V'Seif Mekach Memcher. That one is talking about they found an object. They found the talis. The other one is they purchased the object. They gave the monies. Both people gave the money to the Moicher. And he doesn't remember who was Bal Karcha, who was Madaita. So that's not a Rai either. Elam Seif V'Zel Imer Kulishu V'Zel Imer Chetzishli. So our Mishnah said that I say it's all mine. You say I agree. It's half mine because we picked it up at the same time. So therefore, we say that you get 3/4 and this guy gets 1/4. So maybe it's talking about that. Why does he need that? No, again, that's not a raya. How do we know that's part of the Mishnah? Because it could be talking about Metzia or Mekach HaMemchor. Maybe that's talking about Chamemchor. But who says it's half mine, you would think maybe he shouldn't have to make a shvu at all. Because since he's being generous and saying half, so we should just automatically just give him half. So Kamash Malon, Dahai Arumi Kamarim. Maybe he's really none of it belongs to him. But he's trying to trick us. Savar, he thinks like this. If I say the whole thing is mine, as we saw in the ratio of the Mishnah, I'll need to make a shvu. I don't want to make a shvu because I'm a thief. But I'm not going to lie, right? Maybe I'm maybe chashed amoyna, chashed shvua. Emahachi. So I'll say this. I'll say it's only half mine. Havi commission of aveda. I'll be giving him the other half. Be potter. Maybe then, and I'll be potter from a shvua. So the chiddush is that even in that case you have to make a shvua because we're concerned of ramoyim. El maha hayushnaim roichem al gabe behema to be riding on an animal. Hastu lamli. El mirshi yaser shmamina hamiyam asil chaver kana chaver. So that's the raya. No v'dil maha kamashmon the roichib nami kani. Maybe it's come to tell you that riding an animal is a form of making a kinyan, says Rashi. V'afa gavdol mashichahi she'enu zozimim kayma she'en madhiga baraglav. So normally you have to do mashicha on metalton. You have to pull it. So when you're on top of an animal and you don't move your feet and it doesn't move itself, so then you would think that just being on top of an animal is not a kinyan. The chiddush is that even roichev, even just riding it, is a kinyan. El maseifa bisman shehin moedin. It says when both parties agree. that it's half. Oh, sheyesh lehem edim. There's witnesses to this extent that they pay them at the same time. Cholchem b'lo shvua. But what's the case? Of course, that should be a double pashut. Now, love b'metzia. We're talking about a case of metzia. So why is it a tzricha memar? Says Rashi, hechad l'kucha ben shneim shiachluka b'lo shvua. We're in the situation of a purchase between both of them, then certainly should divide without a shvua. So it must be no case of metzia. Shemamina hamimin sil chaveru kana chaveru. Fine. No. So this case of the safe of our Mishnah, which doesn't seem to be much of a chiddush when it comes to the din of a Metzia, the fact that it mentions this, that no one else is able to grab hold of it afterwards, teaches you that when you find a Metzia for your friend, because again you're being modeh, so then you're kind it for your friend. Rav will say no, but Alma says Rashi hechadol mischavin hamagvia l'zachos ba l'kanachavero. If you didn't have intention to be zaycha for your friend's not going to be kaina. However, this Mishnah is just coming to tell you that if you find this metzia, hamagvia metzia lo l'chaveru kaina, for your friend you'll be kaina. Af chaveru demigu d'zachon nafshe zachon l'chaver. Since you can be kaina for yourself, you can be kaina for someone else. Okay. Rav Yosef, Amrli, Rabbi Huda, as we continue to Ches Amud Beis. Shamat minei de Mar Shmuel Tarti. We can learn out from the din of Mar Shmuel two things. It says Rashi, Shamati minei Shnei Devarim, din Rachayiv, v'din Manhig. Okay, so let's continue the Gemara. Rachav u'manhig, when one's riding the donkey and one is leading this animal, chad kani v'chad lo kani. He says that one of them is kainit, the other one's not. Vol yadana himinayu. I don't know which one is kainit. Is it the reichev, the rider, or the leader? Which one's better? So hey chadami. Ilema rachav l'chudei, manhig l'chudei. So let's say we're talking about they're separate. So manhig l'chudi mi'ika man yarmul l'kani. I understand if you're leading an animal, it's just like literally you're pulling it. So who would say that that's a form of mashicha, that it's not a kinyan? So it can't be that they're being done at separate times. Otherwise, it's obvious that being manhig works. Ela i'ikol meimer d'loi kani. If you want to ever tell me there's no kinyan, you would have to say rachav hu de'ikol meimer. It would only be, in that case, it would only be a roichav. If we're talking about either you did one or the other, you did one and the other person did the other two separate times, then obviously you would have to say the manhig is better. The question is, when you're doing both at the same time, says Rashi, Shneim boyim lefenenu, they're both coming together, zeh rachav zeh manhig. So what's the din? Rachav adif, the rider is better, the toughest ba, because he's like holding on to the animal. Or maybe Rachi and Manhig is better because it's moving because of you. So Amar Rav Yosef, Amrli, Rabbi Huda, focus on the words of Rabbi Huda. Rabbi Huda says, Nechseanan. Let's look into this matter. Ditnan, we learned in the Mishnah, it says as follows: Hamanhig, a person who is manhig, seifek asarboim. Such an individual is going to receive malchus. Why? What did he do wrong? Says Rashi, a manhig b'shor v'chamor, and not just one animal. You were manhig an ox together with a donkey. So in that case, you are going to be seifek asarboim. You get malchus for being manhig. However, weiter, v'hayoshev b'karon. Let's say you're sitting in the wagon, it's being pulled by these two animals. Seifek asarboim. Actually, according to him, you are going to get malchus too by just sitting in the wagon. Rameir poiter as hayosh b'karon. Rameir is chaylik and says, no, you're not doing anything. Rashi says the ksavar lav midi of it. You're just sitting in a wagon, so you're not responsible. Therefore, you're not going to be getting malchus. Now, mid apich Shmuel, the fact that Shmuel went out of his way, v'tani the chachamim poiterin as hayosh b'karon, and he said, no, it's the chachamim who are of the opinion, not the Rameir, but the Chachamim, that Pater's Yoshi B'Karein. Why was he so particular to establish it like the Rabbanon? Must be because Shema Mino Rachav L'Chudei Lo Kani. The Roichev alone is not a Kinyan. V'chol shekin racham makam manhig. Certainly if it's together with manhig. So why did Shmuel go out of his way to be able to change the girsa? Because we know the din of Yachid vel Rabim Halacha Karabim. That's the reason why he switched it around. Must be because he mamish holds that the din is your pater, and therefore he wanted the Rabbanan to be the one who says that opinion. That's why he switched the opinions of the Rabbanan and Rameir. So the fact that he did this obviously shows that Roichev is not a kinyan, and certainly Roichev b'makam manhig. Armlei Abai Rav Yosef. So Abai said to Rav Yosef, Hazimnin Sigian Amrlan. There's sometimes that this sugi was said before us of Nechse Anan, Vo Amrlan Mishmid Rabbi Yehuda, and it actually was not said in the name of Yehuda, but in your name. But on the top we said Omer Rav Yosef, Omer Li Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yosef said that Rabbi Yehuda said to me. But sometimes you did not quote it in the name of Rabbi Yehuda. So which one is it? So Amalei Ivra. Says Rashi, Emasu, the truth is Vikid Kronami de Amalei. And you reminded me that which was said. Hechi Pashit, of how this to address this question. Of Mar Racham Yoshev L'Tafis B'Moseira. Rachoiv Tafis B'Moseira. So he says it's hard to even understand. L'chayra, it isn't proof. There's no Moseira. So it's nothing. So again, when it comes to Roichev Yoshev, a person who's just sitting on the animal, you can't compare these two cases. We're trying to prove the whole thing of Rochev. What's the din of Rochev b'makam manhig? Riding it. But that's not what this case is talking about. This case says the language of Yoshev b'karoin. Understand, Rochev lo tafis b'mosera. You're not holding on to the ropes. Rochev tafis b'mosera. When you're riding, you're holding on to the ropes. Right? You're holding on to the reins of this animal. So it's more of a kinyan. You would think there would be more of a kinyan by Roicha than Yoshev. So how could you bring a raya? Because it says by Yoshev b'karo, and okay, fine, the Rabbanan say you're not suffering so that's Yoshev. You're just sitting. You're not holding on to anything. Over here, Roicha, your mom is holding on to something, so maybe that would work. V'yamruli Rab Ushmuel d'Yarmatavayu Mosero Lokani. But we said that Mosero, holding on to the reins, is not a kinyan anyway. Says Rashi, V'yafal gavdim mechir kani. Even though when it comes to actually selling, it is a kinyan, as we see in Masechtas Kedushin. Behema gasa niknas b'masira. When it comes to an animal, a behema gasa, you don't have to do mashiach. You can just do masira, just handing over the reins from one person to the next. So the din of mosera, of holding on these reins, is enough when it comes to the mechira, of selling something from a moicher to a loikeach. But over here we're talking about it's a makam hefker. It's a chayfetz, which is hefker. So since it's hefker, so the din isn't the same, and therefore mosera doesn't help. And therefore the point is, it doesn't matter yoishev or roichev. The din is the same, because roichev, okay, it's true you're holding on to the mosera, but holding on to those reins, holding on to that does not make any difference when it comes to kinyan from hefker. Fine. Some say Rav Yosef Hechi Pashit Mar Rochav Miyoshev. How could you compare the two? Yoshev Tavs Mosera, Rochav Tavs Mosera. Same question. Idi Mosera Kani. It's nothing. It's not a kinyan, and therefore it's not a question. It's, in fact, it is a good raya. Okay. Itmar. Fine. Itmar Nam. You also like this. Omer Rabbi Chelbo Omer Rav Huna Mosera. When it comes to these reins, mechaveroi kana, from your friend, it is a kinyan. B'metzia, when it comes to finding an object, because why? Because it's a mechira. You're selling, as we said. So if you do mosera from a kinyan mechira, then it works. But Metzia and Nechse Hager lo kani. So as we said before, by Metzia it's not a kinyan. But then he also throws in also by not Nechse Hager. So if you have a convert who dies and he has no yorshim, so the din is kol kodim nechasav zachamehen. Whoever can get their hands on these hefker items, they're koin it first. So it's also similar to hefker. just like Metzia. And therefore, for that reason, Mosera is not enough. So, my Lashon Mosera, what exactly is that? So, Marava Idi Asvili, Ka'adam HaMoiser Devil Chaveroi. Just like a person who gives over something to his friend. So this is a very interesting concept. We hear the word musar. When you do musar, you're passing over some information of value to another person. So masira is the same thing. You're giving over these reins or something over to your friend. And if you want to go a little bit more, homiletically, when it comes to mechira and lakicha, ki lekach toiv nasati lechem, when it comes to Torah, so therefore that is something which will be a kinyan. Masira works, but when it comes to something of hefker, something which is not connected to Torah, then there's no din musar. I can understand that from your friend you're kainet because he gave it to you. Again, who gave it to you that you should be kainet. That's the idea. Two people are riding on an animal. Money. Who's this? Rabbi Meir, Tashti Yoshev Kani, Racham Boy. So again, this is before the Girsa change. So according to Rabbi Meir holds that Yoshev Bekarin is Potter. Okay, so it's actually after the Girsa change. So if he holds that Yoshev alone is a kinyan, then Reichav certainly should work. So we see over here the fact that you have two people doing that are Reichavin. Obviously, it's a raya that it is a kinyan. No, so let's look at Rashi. Name a Rabbi Meir and just sitting there, you get Malchus. Umasnis in Yechidahi. Hashtal Rabbi Meir Yoshev Kani. You're kind even by sitting to come out Yoshev Karan Sevkas Arboyim. Again, because we're switching the gearses around. We're saying that's what Rabbi Meir holds. So Racham a boy riding it. So why do you need to tell us this? It's obvious. El Lav Rabban of Ashminan to be Yoshev Hu de Potter. He's only saying you're Potter from Malchus only by Yoshev Bekaroin, sitting. However, Abu Rachel, but riding it low. So Tiyufta Rabbi Huda the Pasha Reicham Yoshev. You can't learn out Reicham Yoshev, right? Well, apparently. Reicham, who said, Reicham and Yoshev are really the same thing because even what's the difference between Reicham and Yoshev? The difference between riding and sitting is just holding onto the reins. There's no extra kinyan involved when it comes to holding onto the reins when it comes to a Metzia, because it's from Hefker. So we're seeing over here there is a difference between Yoshev and Reicham. So Hachmai Skinan b'manhig baraglov. It's not really talking about that you are Reichev, but you're mamish moving it with your feet. Yachi hanu manhig. It's the same thing as manhig. So trei gavdi manhig. So mahu de temarachav adif. Riding is better. The ha manhig v'tafasba. You're riding and holding on to. The ha manhig v'tafasba because you're leading it and holding on to it. Kamash malon. So it's not necessarily true. It's still possible that the Rabbanan hold that Yoshev and Reichev are the same. It's not a kinyan. But over here, when we say that Shnaim Reichvin, it doesn't really mean Reichvin. It really means that you're a manhig baragla. You may be riding it, but you're also guiding it, not by being in the front of it, but with your feet. By moving in that direction, by moving your feet, that causes the animal to also move, which is also a form of being manhig. Okay, we'll stop here. Question 6. So the question is, does it work? So we see over here, it's a machlokas, the imgam manhig baragov koinol kol yalma. If he's manhig baragov, everyone holds that certainly it will work. That certainly will be a good kinyan. That's ledivri hakoil. Okay, that's ledivri hakol. However, when we're dealing with just Reichev alone, so in that situation, it is a machlokas. That was ches amid beis. Okay, let's look at maybe another question. TA25. Echad Reichev chamor v'echad tafas b'mosera mi kaina es hamosira. I guess we didn't do this yet. Okay, we'll get to that in tomorrow's daf. And let's see, TB25. Madua in Raya mehamishna de haya echad roichev echad manhig de katanya chloku de rochev ba'al makani. Why didn't we learn out over here that roichev alone is kaina? Because I wrote ulai hu roichev baraglav shezehu kimanhig. Beautifully written. So that's TB 25, and everyone holds, of course, Ladivir Kol, that is the situation, that if you're manhig baraglav, then certainly it will be a kinyan. The question again is, machlokas is by roichev alone, whether or not that works. Adkan.